Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast. My name is Edson Ochoa, and I am very happy to be back to talk to you all once again for another RGV FC game. Thankfully, this week we're in relatively good spirits, mostly because of the 3-0 win over Real Monarchs last Saturday, which we will be talking about today, and also because I didn't have to work late today, so that's always a good thing. Mm-hmm. So pleased to be back. I hope you all have been doing well as well. I do want to take the time to wish Mike Reyes a very speedy recovery, and hopefully we'll get to see him back again. Just want to remind you, this y'all just be careful out there, and because it's still not over yet with this whole pandemic thing. So get your vaccine, take your precautions, and because we all need to do our part. But anyway, I don't want to cause any rile-ups with any potential anti-vaxxers that are listening or watching. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started with this. First of all, let's go ahead and welcome our co-host, Jacob Young. Jacob, how have you been this past couple of days?
I've been good. I mean, hey, I can still taste and smell and do all that, so it's very good. Healthy is basically what I'm saying. So happy about that, and yeah, looking forward to talking some soccer, which should be very fun.
Yeah, definitely. It was. I guess it's always a good thing to talk about wins rather than losses. Relatively simple. I mean, there is a lot to kind of talk about at this moment because I know a lot of you, or maybe not a lot of you, but some people, especially those that are not RGV FC fans. Harry, I see you. What's up, Mike and Harry? Um, you're probably like, well, I mean, it's Real Monarchs. You know, you should have beat them. True. I
Hmm?
honestly think that as well. It was one of those. It's one of those
Yeah.
games, and I think I just hit my finger, which was hurting a little while ago. But um, you know, it's one of those games where you had to win, and it would have been a huge red flag had they not gotten the results against Real Monarchs, the worst team in the Mountain Division. So, but honestly, right off the bat, let's talk about the starting lineup for today because it brought a lot of, at least to me, it brought a lot of surprises when it came to the starting 11. So let me
Mhm.
go ahead and put that on screen. So to me, it looked a lot more like a 4-4-2 rather than a 4-3-3 that was used in other previous games. Obviously, you had to have Tyler Derrick on goal. Juan Carlos Azocar and Babukar Jai were back to being your outside backs. Jai on the left, Azocar on the right. Center back pairing, Carter Manley and Eric Pimentel. So no Arturo Dispe, and if I'm not mistaken, Dispe was not even on the bench. So I've usually noticed that it's been more often when Dispe gets substituted for someone else, gets sacrificed in these changes to the lineup rather than Pimentel, which is really interesting to say the least, considering the fact that Dispe has been the best defensive player for this team.
Yeah. I mean, Dispe has been the best defender on this team, but again, everybody will complain about all those changes and everything like that, but it's just very much, well, their defense isn't working. What you have right now, even if he's the best starter on or star on your squad for defense, his the team around him is not doing that great with him. So change it up. Seeing who is better together is going to be key. And I think, yeah, well, yes, of course, we all know 3-0, that was big. But Wilmer Cabrera kind of figuring out who's strong right there is going to be
At
key.
this late point of the season,
I mean, when was the last time RGVFC won, though? So you have to
against
do
Atlanta
something.
United, against Atlanta United too, and then it took forever.
Exactly.
The last time they before that was against Real Monarchs back in August.
Uh huh. And then not to mention that you lose 2 points against Loudoun United, even trying a new thing too.
So what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, what you're saying is that uh, this is probably more about incompatibility between playstyles between Pimentel and Dispe than rather than performance. Is that what you're trying to say?
Um, yeah, I would definitely say that because whether or not that person's performing well, who's performing well around them, and if it's not working for that chemistry, then I mean, kind of sadly, what's the point? Because
So
it's just gonna be tough.
so Mike's saying, he says D-Spit was recovering from a small pull. He should be good to go next game. So at least they've said it was a small minor injury that they're taking care of him. At least in this situation, that's why he was not even on the
Yeah.
bench. So that's a good sign, but still brings up the question: what's up with all of these, formation changes so late in the game? Now, I will say this: going back to the starting 11, we talked about the defensive line, Asokar and Jai out in the outside backs, and I'll mention why this is important. So in the midfield, you had another line of four with Ikaza and Andres Flores as your central midfielders, with Christian Sorto and Jonas Gelberg out on the wings, which is pretty normal. And then up at top, you had a line of two strikers with Frank Lopez and Elvis Ammo, who is pretty much the leading goal scorer for this team so far. I've criticized him a lot. I honestly feel like Ammo would have scored a lot more goals this season had he been a lot more accurate. He's had a lot of opportunities to score that he hasn't taken advantage of. In fact, just this game right here against Real Monarchs, in the first 5 minutes, Elvis Ammo had two clear opportunities right in front of goal that he did not take advantage of.
Yep.
So it's one of those things like, yes, he has scored 10 goals this season. Hey, how's it going, Jorge Peña? He says hello from McAllen, Texas. Hello there, man. Welcome back to the Down in the Valley podcast. But what I was saying is that Elvis Ammo could have much better performances goal wise if he was a little bit more accurate, because the chances are there, but there's just a lot of these opportunities where you're like, how did he miss that, or how did he whiff that? And it's going to be very interesting as we get closer to the end of the season, once we start making our kind of like a list of who stays and who goes. But right now, I mean, as much as I criticize that, he is our best attacker, goals wise. So he's one of those players where you gotta have him in regardless.
Very true. I mean, yes, he did score the goal, or a goal in this game. Elvis Amo did, and to your credit, of course, it's very true. I think the biggest thing right now for Amo is, and every striker on this squad, just get him on target.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that not getting them on target right in front of the keeper, like, again, I mean, I've talked about this before. You get taught at a very young age, and even in your high school days or around that time of your development of a soccer player, to shoot at the corners and not to shoot in the central part of the goal. Because where is the goalkeeper going to be 9 times out of 10? Right in the middle of the goal. So that's the biggest thing, is just getting them on target in those smaller areas, and that will definitely help them. Because yes, this was one of RDV's better games, at least for strikers.
Mm-hmm.
But now we'll just wait and see if that will help out when, of course, we travel to New Mexico.
So looking at the starting 11, to me, like I mentioned right off the bat, seeing Abubakar Jai and Juan Carlos Azócar, rather than having players like Adrian Vera or Roberto Albuquerque from the start, having Emilio Icaza and Andres Flores as their center midfielders, and not having Juan David Cabezas nor James Murphy starting, that leads me to believe that Wilmer Cabrera was going all out offense whether he thought that maybe Real Monarchs wasn't going to put any pressure on him, on his team defensively. Well, that's something that others might see. That this kind of game would kind of give them the opportunity to try something a little bit more aggressive in this match. Now you have to remember that the Toros are in dire need of points, to try to get themselves back into playoff contention. We're down, not including this game against Real Monarchs, but we're down to pretty much 5 games left of the season, while others, like for example New Mexico and Austin, who are going to be playing right now at 8, are, I think they have 6 games still left, including the ones today. So they need to take advantage of these opportunities. Wilmer Cabrera saw that, and he thought, like, we have to pretty much, we're at home, we need to take charge of this, and that's what we saw. Or that was my interpretation of this starting 11. I don't know what you thought about it yourself, Jacob.
Yeah, I mean, definitely what I did see of that starting 11 too is Wilmer Cabrera did go all out attack, but again, RGV FC, well, they looked one of their best in a while, for sure. And I think this can definitely be a lineup that stays for a, for at least the rest of the season, or close to it, at least at home, for the remainder of the home games, which I believe are maybe 2 more.
2 more. We've got one against New Mexico, and then wait, is it?
New Mexico's
Yes.
We're on
No,
the road to New
no.
Mexico.
And then we play Colorado, and then we come back and play New Mexico here. And then the last home game is going to be on October 30th against El Paso Locomotive. And I have to disagree with you on that. I think, like I mentioned, I think having going up against a weak team like Real Monarchs gives them the opportunity to be this aggressive, to be this offensive minded. But against other teams, like especially El Paso Locomotive, you can't have 2 players that aren't comfortable, 100% comfortable playing in defensive positions, going up against them. That's where you would have to use, players like Albuquerque, players like Adrian Vera, Carter Manley back on in the right back position, rather than trying to use Azócar and Jai, who are more offensive minded against these types of teams. So at least in that, like I said, I would have to disagree with you about repeating this lineup for the rest of the season. You might want to repeat the lineup against Real Monarchs again when we travel to Zions Bank Stadium in a couple of weeks, but against New Mexico and El Paso and Colorado. See, even Colorado maybe, because of you want to counteract speed with speed, which is what Babukar Jai brings to the table. And he didn't look bad. Jai didn't look bad against Real Monarchs until they brought in Shane Beckford. But that's where it goes. When you have a player that doesn't have defensive experience, someone as dribblish. I don't think that's even a word, but you guys, you know what I mean. He's quick with his feet. He's going to struggle.
And I think that's fair, but it's tough to say, like, this is RGVFC's, of course, yes, it's against a weak team, but this is RGVFC's first success in a while, meaning that they've been able to score also multiple goals and not concede. And so I think, yes, on the road, you go more defensive. And I think a point at New Mexico will be just as satisfying, even though you need 3 points, especially this late. We'll, of course, talk about that later, but it's just, I think this lineup's fine for, the final games at home is all I'm saying. Even against El Paso, because El Paso, you get them at home inside of a bigger field. They're used to a smaller field at a baseball stadium at a baseball diamond. That's where I think RGVFC can have the upper hand. There is just, getting used to them. And I think RGVFC will come into their own element just like they have before against the rivals, where they're the ones getting into people's heads, even with this lineup, because of how quick Jai is, how quick Mo could be, and even the defense being good with counterattacking, even being with Ahsoka. And yes, Carter Manley got a yellow card, but other than that, it looks pretty decent.
Just before we continue, just want to let y'all know, apparently San Antonio FC just scored against El Paso Locomotive. I mean, nobody cares, Harry. No, I'm just kidding. But what does matter is 10 minutes in, 0-0 for both New Mexico United versus Hartford Athletic and Austin Bold versus Tacoma Defiance. Now, I was telling Harry before the show went live, what we want as Toros fans, we want both Austin and New Mexico to lose, so that way we can still kind of be close to them in these last 5 games of the season. So we'll see what happens. We'll try to keep ourselves updated. In the meantime, be sure to give this video a like and share it with all of your friends. Just a quick little favor like that. But anyway, so we talked about the starting 11. We talked about the risks that Wilmer Cabrera took with this particular lineup. Like I said, I don't know if maybe Wilmer realized that Real Monarchs offensively was not going to be a threat to RGVFC, and really they were not. Real Monarchs was not a threat to RGVFC. I think there was only one particular moment where Tyler Derrick had to make a save, and that was pretty much it, because you look at the statistics, and Real Monarchs only had 3 shots.
Yeah,
they only had 3 shots total. None of them were on target. So Tyler Derrick could have easily taken out a comic book, and read something, and in the middle of the game. Because honestly, I think, yes, it's Real Monarchs, but the defense was pretty solid. Pimentel was very concentrated. He didn't make any aggressive tackles that would put himself out of position compared to the rest of the defensive line. Carter Manley, I think, was on fire. I had posted a graphic during the weekend on Twitter where Carter Manley was pretty much a stud in that game. He had, I believe...
Goodness. Amber alert, as you can tell.
Can there be a day where Texas can... guys.
Everybody's getting it.
I haven't gotten it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if we were to get it. But please, 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 can there be a day when somebody doesn't abduct a child? Oh, there it is. It's the same one from Houston. Yeah. Man, so just to let y'all know, there is an Amber Alert. I like to share this on social media every time there's one. So I'll go ahead and share it on the show. So from Houston, Texas, they're looking for a blue 2008 GMC Sierra license 28809T1 Texas license plate. Victim is 13-year-old Pacific Islander female Leilana Graham, who was last seen wearing white and yellow striped shirt, unknown pants, black shoes, and carrying a clear backpack. Subject is a black male. Call 911 with information. So, and from what I had seen in news articles about it, it's a very dire situation, So just be on the lookout out there. But going back to this. On the other hand, the Toros, they had 17 shots in total. 8 of them were on target. So, but here's the thing. It really helps when the opposing goalkeeper plays like a it's gonna sound bad, but he plays like a Sunday league keeper, because man, the Dewsnap could not hang on to shots. Mm-hmm. Like the first goal was a parry, like he spilled it right in front of goal, giving Ammo the opportunity to just tap it into the net. There was another one similar situation in the second half that the ball with I think it was Christian Sorto, pushed the ball into the net along with the keeper. So I think they called a foul on that one, but right again, it's like it was a shot that Dusnap couldn't control. And, he left it right open for someone to come and tap it in, so that obviously helps when you don't have a keeper of good talent, to block them. Someone that doesn't have as good enough position as, for example, Alex Tambakis, who from the New Mexico United match, So overall, I think the Toros did decent in the shooting accuracy regard. They did have 8 shots on target, 4 shots were blocked. 7 shots outside the box compared to 10 inside the box. Defensively, the Toros had 24 tackles with 75% of them being successful. Obviously, the Toros had 6 clearances. Real Monarchs had 17. But in the end, it was all about RGV for the most part. So let's take a look at some of the key moments from that match. And, you guys are probably thinking maybe I'm exaggerating when I talk about Dusnap. Maybe he's not that bad of a keeper. But when you watch the replay and you see, and it's like, how is he a starting goalkeeper in the USL Championship?
Exactly.
But before we get to that, so these are the opportunities. So that's the first one. Oops. That's the first one from Elvis Ammo in the 3rd minute. And then he had another one in the 5th minute that he couldn't take advantage of. And so then there was another clear opportunity by Frank Lopez in the 16th. I think this is the goal. So there's Gelberg with the shot, spills it, and Ammo is in there to get it. Now, to be fair to Dusnap, let's not forget that the game, before the game began, which was delayed an hour and a half, it rained a lot.
Yeah.
So the pitch was wet. Gelberg's shot had a lot of force with a wet ball. It wasn't going to be easy to grab it. That's why a lot of the times they'll tell you when it's those situations, slippery ball, wet conditions of the pitch, try not to grab it or try not to maintain possession of it. Just clear it out. Right? Like out away from any opponents, right? Do the volleyball kind of attack to the ball, but get it out of there and away from your opponents. Don't try to grab it, because what happened, he tried to grab it. Take a look at it. He tried to grab it and it slipped away from his hands. So good job on Elvis Amo for being attentive to following that play and getting that goal in, which is his 10th goal of the season, if I'm not mistaken. So, and from what Ray said after the game, he is the 3rd player in all of RGB's history to score. Is it the first? No. Ray, if you're in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, or let me know exactly what it was. Was it that he was the first player to score more than 10 goals in one season, or was it the 3rd player overall to score 10 goals? Because I know it was something big. Mike says Puma played really good this game, and Carter Manley was on fire. Subject is I don't want to talk about that. Mike says, man, was it me or Kyle Adams looked beat and lost the whole game? Definitely. I think Kyle Adams, I know he's a former Toro, but I think Kyle Adams, it was just a desperation at this point because of how disorganized the defense is. They were trying to play this game with a line of 3, and when you have all these offensive players coming at you. Like it's just a mess. I know he looked very desperate. In fact, he even got a yellow card, which is something rare out of Kyle Adams. So yeah, I think playing in a team like Real Monarchs really is getting to him at this point. Because you can't do everything yourself. I mean, obviously he did have some mistakes as well. But really, it's one of those things where, when it's just mistake and the results are getting, they're gonna get you're gonna get desperate at moments. So yeah. And Ray says, yeah, he's the third player in franchise history to score double-digit goals. So yeah, and so that was the first goal. Then right before the half ended, RGV FC had a free kick opportunity that I know it caught the attention of John Morrissey from USL Tactics. So let's take a look. So look, something I do want to mention. Look at every defender that for Real Monarchs. You have 4 players that are not marking anybody. And really, I don't see any man marking from Real Monarchs in this. Because you've got right outside the half circle, that looks like Emilio Icaza. Okay? And nobody's guarding him. Once I start this play, take a look at him and how bad they defend it. So I'm going to press play on this particular moment, right? Okay, so pass right there. He drops back to meet the pass, and nobody follows him. Nobody follows him at all. Does a first touch pass towards Jelberg. Nobody followed him either. First touch cross towards Carter Manley. Almost every defender is either at the border of the 18-yard box or inside the 6-yard box. Nobody followed Carter Manley. He was left all alone in the penalty spot. Gave him the opportunity to get that header and a goal. But horrendous defending by Real Monarchs. They were caught with their pants down. Honestly, I think it's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, you said it correct. I mean, I'm watching it again. I've watched it like 3 times in this span right now, besides live, and it is amazing how I'm sure, no, I'm not going to say that. But speaking about this game right now, the keeper is not going to be able to do anything about that. He's following the ball for as long as he possibly can. He's already going to one side because he expects his defense to do a little bit better. That defense is not. Once again, nobody's marking him. Nobody's marking the set piece. They tried, but I mean, smart play there by RGV for him to drop back and see that there's a chance for a header to come in. And the best part is that header's on target. That header's heading for that right post. That's something that you would love to see in general with that pace.
And it really didn't have a lot of speed to it. That's the other thing.
Yeah, but it helped with a wet field too.
It helped with the wet field. It helped that Dewsnup was going towards the opposite direction of where the ball was actually heading towards. And it honestly, I think it also helped that everybody was in front of him, so they were probably blocking his vision, so that by the time he saw the ball and reacted to it, it was too late. So all of these factors combined for Carter Manley to score his goal. Now, I'm not saying that to diminish the value of the goal by Carter Manley. I'm just saying that all of these factors combined for the perfect execution of this tactical play on a set piece. And honestly, why I did criticize when they tried to do something tactical against San Antonio at home. Look at the difference. Number one, I guess the confidence just wasn't there back then. Now there was. Obviously, going up against a crappy defense like Real Monarchs helps out a lot too. The way they executed the defense in this particular play helps a lot too. But I think also the fact of how aware the Toros players were to recognize when to use this kind of play successfully. I think that goes to show that there has been, at least in that aspect, there's been some work by Wilmer Cabrera on that. And I have to give kudos to everybody who participated. You know, Ikaza, Gelberg, and of course, Carter Manley as well, you know, for that attentiveness, analyzing how the defense was positioned and see, oh, we have an opportunity to do this. And it's not easy playing a one-touch pass on a wet field and give it the perfect power. So that way, you know, it doesn't go way past his teammate, not even, you know, and the crossing as well. It was just it was just perfect right there. So kudos to Wilmer Cabrera, his staff, and of course the players. See, I can give kudos to the team as well. It's not just negative Nancy's over here. Yeah, definitely not sus. But Sloth says Toros turned into Barca for a second with that play. Honestly, you're not that far off, Sloth. You know, the Barca under Pep Guardiola would do that sometimes. You know, I just wish for the Toros to be a lot more consistent. And the other question is, can they replicate this kind of play against tougher opponents like Colorado and New Mexico United? Because sure, anybody can beat the weakling, you know. Unless you're...
You say that unless you're us as well, playing against Loudoun United, who got beat 5-0 against Charlotte Independence.
There it is, everybody. But yeah, but he's got a point. You know, we thought they were the Toros would defeat Loudoun United, the worst team in all of USL. It didn't happen, but at least now they actually took advantage of, you know, the talent, the difference in talent level, and actually reflected it on the scoreboard. So apparently New Mexico United just scored in the 26th minute, and that's not good for us, honestly. And San Antonio scored their second, but nobody cares about San Antonio at this moment. So currently with that scoreline of 1-0 for New Mexico, they would be jumping up to 40 points. They will continue to be in 40th in fourth place in the Western Conference Mountain Division. Fifth place with Austin Bolt's draw currently against Tacoma Defiance. They tie us with 37 points, but we would drop down towards sixth place because Austin Bold has that advantage in head-to-head matches. So at this point, with these results so far, the Toros are back in sixth place. However, the difference between fourth place and sixth place, the Toros, is just 3 points, which is why these two upcoming matches against New Mexico United are very, very critical to get positive results out from. Because if New Mexico gets one more win against the Toros,
that's locked in.
That's pretty much, you're pretty much kissing the playoffs goodbye. And I will say this: if the Toros salvage playoffs this season, I will do the Pocky one chip challenge live, whether it's with the Striker Texas in that final El Paso game, or I'm down in the valley. But if the Toros make playoffs this season, I will do that one chip spicy challenge. You heard it here, folks. But anyway, well, what are your thoughts so far on these results today?
I mean, well, it's kind of expected. Not going to lie, I kind of expected New Mexico United to be up, in their game, and for Austin Bold, it goes back to their wake up call. Their wake up call was, "Oh my gosh, our team is going to leave." That's kind of that wake up call right there. And sure enough, they got rid of some players, but now they're just like, oh crap, we're now playing for our career, or we're playing
Mm.
for our jobs.
Yeah.
So they stepped it up, and
Mhm.
give all credit to the players figuring that crap out, and hopefully that's exactly what RGV FC were able to do here against Real Monarchs, or it's their wake up call of crap. We got 3 points. Now let's go win the rest.
Mhm.
Let's and hope for a championship. RGVFC last season were able to win their last two. What was it? Yeah, last two games in a row. Of course, that was totally different. They had no chance at a playoff, but now they do. And if they can pull something like that off, they're in business. So yeah, those results. Going back to your original thing, those results kind of don't surprise me too much, but it will be interesting to see if those results will hold.
So I want to ask Harry, because yesterday on the Striker Tejas podcast, I mentioned to Jonathan Check, because he was kind of like, he was not expecting the San Antonio to defeat El Paso, but I did tell him the key to beating El Paso is do what RGVFC did the last time the Toros went to Southwest University Park, and to get them desperate. Now, are they doing that? Because I'd be interested to see, if that is the key to defeating El Paso Locomotive, and that other teams in the USL should take note of that. But anyway, back to the original premise of the show. So we talked about the second goal. We talked about how well they executed that play, right? So now let's go towards and look at the third goal in this match. What a lofted ball, I do have to say. Look at that. There was 5 people following Frank Lopez. How? How do you excuse that? And this is another opportunity. This is by Jelberg. Look how nimble Jelberg is. Look at that. Like, he drove the defenders crazy with his. I know he did a lot of, like, I don't know. Are these the ones that they call Ronaldo chops? And this is the goal. This is the authentic golazo. By the way, if you have not voted for this goal as goal of the week, first of all, how dare you? And second of all, take your time to do it after the show. Just what a beauty of a strike. First of all, the perfect cross by Rodrigo Lopez to put it straight towards the chest of Jonas Jelberg. And then him calculating the ball correctly to do that that volley to hit that into the net. That's just wonderful talent right there by Jonas Jelberg.
It easily could have been a swing and a miss. You're correct, 100% correct on that, Edson. It is. I mean, there's almost no words to describe how great this goal was for RGVFC, considering I don't expect to see one like that in years to come. If, of course, this man deserves to be playing for a different club, and what I mean is a club outside of the USL in a higher division.
I mean, he is coming from FC Cincinnati. Yeah. And even then, come on. I think
that's debatable. Definitely is. Even though they wear an MLS patch, do they really play like an MLS squad? Not really.
I mean, no, but I mean,
that's a USL side can still beat an MLS side, but rarely.
Yeah. But I honestly think that, yeah, Jelberg, I think he is proving to everybody at FC Cincinnati that, he probably deserves a chance to get some minutes with FC Cincinnati. At this point, the Knifey Lions are a huge dumpster fire in MLS. So, not unlike the Houston Dynamo, but it's one of those things where, like, hey, this is what hopefully for us as Toros fans, hopefully it doesn't happen that they recall Jonas Gelberg, especially at this a very important time of the season where we want to finish strong and try to rescue a playoff spot. And considering that Gelberg has really kickstarted this offense in these last couple of games. But at the end of the day, in these kind of situations, FC Cincinnati pretty much has the final say whether he stays or has to go back to MLS with Cincy. So I guess we'll see what happens there. But so far, I think he's done a really good job. He participated in all 3 goals. So he really is, I think, at least in this game against Real Monarchs, he really was the engine for the Toros. So overall, a pretty good game, considering the type of rival that we played against. Real Monarchs really wasn't a challenge. Like I mentioned, Tyler Derrick could have easily taken a nap in the middle of the game and nothing would have happened. So at least there's that. They got the 3 points. They got some multiple goals that'll help them with goal differential if needed for a potential tiebreaker. But now we have to look forward to our next game, which is on this Saturday against New Mexico United. Really, really key game. I know Wilmer Cabrera doesn't like the idea of calling it a 6-point game, but this definitely is a 6-point game. Like I mentioned, if the Toros lose one more game against New Mexico United, that's pretty much 95% chance that you're going to be eliminated from playoffs because, number one, you don't have any more games left against Austin Bold because at least for them, you'd have to rely on everybody else and every other team who they're going to be playing against in these last couple of matches to do their job and not let them win. But with New Mexico United, you have 2 games against them, coming up. And if you were able to get those 2 points, that's 6 points where you can get ahead from New Mexico United at the end of the season. And those 6 points could definitely be key to your ticket for the playoffs. Now, if we want to look back at how the Toros played New Mexico United, I know that Wilmer Cabrera did mention in this last games against the Real Monarchs, he did mention something about the game against New Mexico United. And let me go ahead and get those quotes because I don't know, Jacob, if you agree with what he said. With his analysis of the match against New Mexico United. He said, we obviously weren't happy losing in New Mexico because bottom line, the team played well, but you have to put the ball in the net and we didn't do it. So we needed this win the way it happened. We needed to score goals and we needed to come back with a clean sheet. So he says the team played well, but we didn't put the ball in the back of the net.
What of those things are true? I don't think the team played that well. When they last faced New Mexico United. But, I mean, we go back to when was the last time that the team played well before Austin Bold, or not before Austin Bold, before Atlanta United and before, Real Monarchs. And it's been a while. Of course, New Mexico United will always be a tough team, but yeah, you do have to put the ball in the back of the net, and you do have to make sure that the other team does not score. And if they did play well, they would have gotten a draw against New Mexico United the last time they played them. That's as simple as how I can put it. Because you score draws against those types of teams when everybody's already figuring you out. Bravo. You get a point, and it's going to help you no matter what. If it's at home or on the road, you got a point against technically your rival because they're in your division.
I agree with you and disagree with Wilmer as well, because in some aspects, if you look at they improved in their shooting accuracy. It was at 41.5. However, most of the shots that they took against Alex Tambakis, whether it's because of how well positioned Alex Tambakis was to anticipate, but most of the shots that were on target went straight towards the keeper. Tambakis didn't really have to work much to make the saves that he did. The Toros had 17 shots, 7 of them were on target. 5 of those shots were blocked. But most of them, like I said, most of the ones that were saved by Tambakis, which let me check how many saves he had in that particular game. It was more than 2, if I recall correctly. Tambakis had 7 saves. 7 saves, bro. I mean, they made him work, but at the same time, to me, they didn't make him work for the most part because they went straight towards him for the shots. So they're improving in that aspect, but it takes more than that to beat New Mexico United. You gotta make the keeper work for it. You know,
gotta make the keeper work for it. Gotta make the defense work for it too. Just like we saw in that one goal to make it 2-0, they have to do something like that against New Mexico. Draw them forward or, push them back or whatever to open up that space. You open up that space with a player, with a striker, it's going to be a perfect opportunity to try to get a ball in the back of the net. No matter if the keeper, is great. If you make him his vision at least, blocked by even the slightest amount of block, there's a chance of a goal. So you have to make those tactical moves almost. And of course, the lineup's going to be key. Hopefully he doesn't change it too much. I know we've already discussed this and we can basically say you're wrong and I'm wrong or you're wrong and I'm right the whole entire night. But yeah, I mean, you have to make them work. You have to make all the team work, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And the key in this game for New Mexico were the 2 defensive mistakes that the Toros did early in the game and very late in the game. First one, we talked about it last week. Similar issue to what happened to Real Monarchs. Nobody really marked anything. Everybody crowded the 6-yard box. Nobody was outside waiting for, a rebound or a diagonal pass to the back. And so Saeed Muhammad was pretty much left alone in the 18-yard box to take that shot. That was a lack of concentration by the defensive unit that cost him dearly. In the second half, we talked about Eric Pimentel making that very aggressive tackle that missed Isidro Martinez. Yeah. Good old boy Cello took advantage of that, left him behind. That mistake, it actually threw our defensive line apart, and nobody knew who to mark anymore. Carter Manley, if you look at that play, Carter Manley was left to mark number 20, or actually no, he was actually marking originally. He was originally marking what's his name? Chris Wien. He was originally marking Wien. Pimentel was left out of the equation. Nispe had to come in. He wasn't even marking number 20, which was Tenari. He wasn't even Nispe wasn't even marking Tenari. So he receives the pass inside the box. Carter Manley had to leave the mark on off of Chris Wien to try to block Tenari, make sure he didn't get a shot. But because of that left Chris Wien alone right in front of goal, and that was the 2-0. But at the end, this is the key to this upcoming game against New Mexico United, and I said it yesterday and I'll say it today. Minimize those moments of lack of concentration defensively for the Toros, and keep on pushing back. Keep on pushing New Mexico back into their own side of the field like you did. Because Let me see. I'm gonna look at the heat map for New Mexico. They were mostly within their own side of the field for almost the whole game. So that shows how much possession or the Toros had, or how many opportunities they had, and they weren't able to capitalize. And those two moments of lack of attention, that was the difference. So the key is try to replicate what you did that time, but please don't replicate those defensive mistakes. I think if you can get some balls into the net again at Isotopes Park and hold them to another shutout, which I think it is doable. I think it's doable. You could get yourself a positive result from Isotopes Park against New Mexico United. Now, we'd have to look forward towards playing Colorado Springs Switchbacks back at Widener Field, but that would be something we can discuss for next week's episode.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. If, of course, we're happy when we talk about it, or a little bit disappointed when we talk about just getting something. I mean, we all know that's gonna come up. That's coming up next Wednesday. Whether or not we're happy or sad, but no, it's true. The key is that defense and the offense need to make Homer Simpson cheer for us. Because if you've ever seen that episode where Homer Simpson is,
yes,
he's like, I once loved the Isotopes, but then they broke my heart. That's why I will never root for them again. Something like that. That's his line. That's his famous line.
And it wasn't like, oh, they're winning, and it's like, yay, I'm always rooting for them, and they're like, oh, they're losing, like, screw this team or something like that.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And considering how some of the fans here in the Rio Grande Valley tend to be very results oriented, we've got to at least salvage playoffs, which would be a good stepping stone come next season. Because like I mentioned last week, if you don't make playoffs, the fact that we made all of this hullabaloo that the things were going to be different under independence, and we still don't make playoffs, I think we're going to lose some of these potential fans for good.
Potential fans and potential
sponsors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You said it, but I was thinking it. It's true. I was about to say it.
Money talks. With money dances the dog. Don't forget that.
Very, very true.
But considering all of this, Jacob, what is your prediction for Saturday's match?
I think I said it earlier in the stream. I still believe it. I think it's going to be a draw. I think we'll be able to get 2 goals, but it will tie 2-2. And it will be like this game never happened and we only had, about 4 games remaining.
So you said 2-2, right?
2-2, yeah.
I'm going to go with, call me crazy, but I'm going to go with a 1-0 win.
All right.
I feel
to pull it off pretty early.
See, I don't even think it's that bold for what I was talking about. I think that
the way that you were, it's possible.
I may be viewing it with rosy-colored glasses, but I honestly think if the Toros do limit those mistakes, I think they can pull it off. Mm-hmm. I think we've shown that we can limit the dangerousness of some USL teams. Phoenix Rising, it's a completely different story. I mean, that's a whole different animal right there. Penalty kick for Hartford Athletic at the end of the first half. So we might end this show on a good note. So we've already said our regular predictions. Chat, what are your predictions for this match? Mike says RGV 2, New Mexico 1. So Jacob, your bold prediction.
My bold prediction, well, you're going to love this. This game is going to be delayed. The reason being, it's going to hail before the game. it is going to legitimately have ice falling from the sky for
Mhm.
a bit because of weather. I don't believe there's even a slight chance of weather there, but I'm going to say there is for my prediction. And well, that's going to give the Toros enough time to kind of not necessarily regroup, but just like it did against Real Monarchs, give them an opportunity to make it 3-0 for a crazy, crazy win on the road at Isotopes Field.
Okay. So 3-0.
Mhm.
So Hartford Athletic did just score that penalty. So at the half, they are 1-1. So how does that change? You're probably asking yourself, well, how does that change the standings? So um, at the moment, the New Mexico United would still be in fourth place, but they would only have 38 points if this result were to continue. So that makes it a lot better for Austin and RGV in their attempt to try to get that fourth playoff spot.
Mhm.
You know, and then so that's I think it's the only difference right there. It's just that instead of them winning 2 points, or they'd be away by 3 points, they'd only be away from us by 1 point, which is a lot more doable. And considering that our next matchup is against them, that that makes it a whole lot better, because if you do beat New Mexico United, then you jump over them. And hopefully that would mean getting themselves back into fourth position, which is very, like I said, it is very doable. So we can't give up this fight, like the title of the stream says. So my bold prediction.
I don't
Bold
think you
pre-
can get any more bold than a 1-0 win.
My bold prediction is a 2-1 win by RGV FC. But here's the bold part. The goal is scored in stoppage time of the second half, and it's an own goal by Isidro Martinez. That's my bold prediction right there, guys.
I love that so much.
I'm sorry, Cello. I know we're good friends and all, but it's just gonna be like one of those ones. Like, what the hell is going on here? You know, it's just how bold can you get when it's like your former Toro and RGV native, let's not forget that, scores an own goal that benefits the Toros. And then all of a sudden, all the fans are going to be like, oh, what a traitor and stuff like that. But no, that's my bold prediction. 2-1 win in stoppage time with a Isidro Martinez own goal. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion that we had on the game last Saturday against Real Monarchs. Obviously, the game, a quick analysis of the game this Saturday against New Mexico United. Just be attentive on this game, the second half between New Mexico and Hartford Athletic. It might be a thriller. And like I said, that result is going to directly affect our fight to getting back into playoff positions. Obviously, I would prefer for both Austin against and New Mexico United to lose. But so far at halftime, both results are advantageous for the Toros. Now it's up to the Toros themselves to do their job on Saturday to get back in playoff positions. And you know what? You also have to remember that a lot of the times in playoffs, what matters the most is what momentum you're coming in. You know, because last season, you know, San Antonio made it to the playoffs, but they were coming in on bad momentum, and they got eliminated by New Mexico United right off the bat. Sorry, Harry, to bring it up, but you know it's obviously true. You know, for any kind of a playoff system, it's the momentum you're bringing in that really helps.
Very true. And I mean, I hate to do this as well, but it's kind of true that RGVFC were coming into the playoffs the first ever time that they made it on bad momentum as well. Yes, they had an opportunity to beat OKC Energy, but if I'm not mistaken, we were coming in on a loss before the playoffs started, which that never truly helps you. Even if you clinch a playoff spot, you just want to come in with a win and rested players.
So Ray did mention regular prediction 1-0 for the Toros, bold prediction 4-3 for the Toros. Mike Reyes says that if we do make playoffs, he will dye his hair blonde. And
That would be something. Because I'm trying to think if Reyes has hair or not.
And of course, Sloth says that he believes. And obviously, Mike, prayers for you to beat COVID. We're rallying behind you. But guys, I have to sign off right now at this moment. But thank you all for tuning in. And if you guys haven't liked this video, be sure to click that little like button and be sure to share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. It's definitely free. And so you'll get yourself, notifications every time we do go live or re-upload something to the channel. Let's not forget that we are one of the few people that consistently talk about RGV FC Toros. Want to give a huge shout out to all of our patrons. Want to give a huge shout out, obviously, to Ray Silva from South Texas Border Sports. And of course, thank you, Jacob, for coming on tonight. And of course, thank you all for your support. We'll see each other next week, hopefully, once again, on a high note. Be safe out there. Y'all take care. Have a good night.